Good morning. Good morning.
Okay.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Well, at least we know the Zoom folks are there.
I apologize.
Testing.
Okay.
Okay.
That's because it's plugged. I have it plugged in. You can go ahead.
Okay.
I'll figure it out.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Thursday, April 17th, 2025 meeting of the Historic Zoning Commission meeting for the City of Knoxville. We'll now do the roll call.
Good morning. For the record, the Knox County Historic Zoning Commission has no business and will not meet this month. So for the City of Knoxville, Mr. Blackburn has stepped out. Commissioner Eason,
Here.
Commissioner Bradley,
Here.
Commissioner Kessler,
Here.
Commissioner Hearns,
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Here.
Commissioner Randazzo,
Here.
Commissioner Tillman. Here. Commissioner Kloss.
Here.
It's all 9 present.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. Just a reminder that this meeting today will be televised and recorded. We're asking all our speakers to please keep your presentations to 5 minutes. And if you would like to appeal any decision that the board makes today, you will have 60 days from the date of the decisions. If you would like to speak on a matter, we will ask you to stand and please raise your right hand.
Yeah.
Stand and please raise your right hand. Anyone speaking on a matter? And raise your right hand. Thank you. Please repeat after me. I swear that the testimony that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. I think that's it, and we can get started. Lindsay, could you please give us our level 1 reviews?
Yeah, we'll jump first to the approval of the minutes of the March meeting.
Yes. Can we please have the approval of the March meeting?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Now we'll move to our level 1 reports.
Okay, so the level 1 COAs issued since the last meeting at 1704 Washington Avenue was the replacement in kind of wood tongue and groove porch flooring at 915 Luttrell Street, the replacement in kind of roofing, including chimney flashing, and then at the Miller's Building individual landmark, there's some mechanical duct work on the rear alley-facing elevation that will extend from the first floor to that roof line, and the ducts will be painted to match the adjacent wall.
Thank you, Lindsay. We will now move forward with our level 2 reports. The first review will be on the property at 0 Leonard Place. Lindsay?
Okay. All right. So this is a new primary structure fronting Leonard Place. These are revisions. The application was postponed at the December meeting to allow the applicant to meet with the neighborhood and provide a revised design. And so this is a 2-story, 3-unit townhouse. All together, they're 63 feet, 7 inches wide. The units are approximately 21 feet wide, and then it's 37 feet deep. The main massing is proposed to be set 20 feet from the front property line, and parking will be located behind the 3 units accessed from the alley. So the revised townhouses have 3 front gable roof massings with a 10/12 pitch roof connected by a central cross gable roof. There are shed dormers on the side elevations. The units have 9-foot deep front porches that are covered by a front gable roof with overhanging eaves, brackets, and shake siding in the gable field, and the porch roof are supported by tapered wood columns on brick piers. The building is clad in a smooth finish fiber cement lap siding with corner boards, and it's resting on a brick foundation, or a brick clad foundation. The windows are aluminum clad wood. And we can see the material specifications on the final page of the case file, but they are 1/1 single hung with projecting wood sills and trim. So some of these findings, the applicant is using the middle housing standards, and the middle housing review does currently occur through planning, so there may be some elements that trigger site plan and building elevation revisions, but largely this does meet the middle housing standards. In terms of the proposed front setback, these will be aligned with the adjacent new construction properties. The applicant has revised the overall footprint of these buildings to stagger towards the rear, so the units move backwards as you move west, and that serves to kind of break up the overall massing of the units. The building has even side yard setbacks. The parking is located at the rear of the property, so that will avoid a new curb cut and no front yard parking. The final site plan should meet city engineering standards. There may be landscaping buffers that are required based on Article 12 of the zoning code. So a two-story building is slightly larger than the context, which is largely 1 to 1.5 stories. However, the two-story building is often necessitated by the townhouse form, being 3 units. There are also some two-story buildings located on the 200 block of Leonard Place. The revised design breaks up the overall form by staggering the units, also using siding elements and projecting front porches. And then the roof pitch meets the design guidelines as a 10/12 pitch. The guidelines are pretty specific on that 12/12, but some craftsman houses have less steep roof pitches, and a steep pitch would actually increase the overall visual scale. So in the opinion of staff, the roof is appropriate. The drawings indicate a raised brick foundation, which matches the guidelines. The final drawings should indicate the height. The materials are consistent with the materials on the street. Final specs should show smooth finished 4 to 5 inches in exposure. And there is shake siding on the porch that kind of breaks up that overall pattern. The porches meet the design guidelines. The final drawings should also incorporate material specs for porch flooring. Overall, the windows also meet the design guidelines as the aluminum clad wood windows. And so staff is recommending approval, and we've got the materials here, we can come back to those. Staff's recommending approval of 12D 24HC subject to the conditions that the site plan and elevations meet relevant standards of the zoning code and city engineering standards. The fiber cement siding be smooth finished and 4 to 5 inches in exposure. And then the final material specs like the windows and doors be submitted to staff for approval.
Thank you, Lindsay. Would the applicant like to speak?
There we go, sorry. Quinn Epperly at 552 South David Lane, and yes, these are our latest revisions after meeting at a couple of neighborhood meetings and getting Orrin Yarbrough, who's also, I believe, on Zoom. He is an architect that has helped us out with these kind of sketch drawings, and so, yeah, kind of like Lindsay said, these are our latest revisions, and if there's any questions, I can kind of take those now.
Okay. Is there anything from the neighborhood?
Sean was not able to join us, but Sean Bolin, on behalf of Old North, says, representing Old North Knoxville, the neighborhood overwhelmingly supports the application as submitted, and they want to thank the owner for meeting with us, hearing our concerns, and modifying his proposal. He says this project will benefit Knoxville for years to come.
Thank you.
I will add, as the friendly neighborhood architect, that when we presented to
Excuse me,
the
can
neighborhood,
you please say your name and address?
Yes, sorry. My name is Orrin Yarbrough. I'm with Design Innovation Architects, but I'm helping solo. My address is 1449 North 4th Avenue. I actually live only a block from where these are going. So I attended some meetings with the neighborhood when Quinn actually first came to everybody to kind of ask for opinions and assistance and get feedback. And so I kind of stepped in after talking with Lauren Ryder and a few others and volunteered my services to help him kind of sketch out and create some different concepts that did not negate his existing floor plans that he already had developed. So we came up with a multiple concepts, some that had, this is more of a craftsman style, but we came up with also some different ones that were more of a Queen Anne kind of aesthetic, and some that had different variations of pitches. One that had expressed gables, one that had like a flat area with like a side gable, and all of these were different pushes and pulls that still kind of match the aesthetic of the neighborhood and the surrounding context. And we took all of those in a sketch form to the neighborhood later, and they overwhelmingly voted and supported this concept right here. And so this is the one that we took and we cleaned up for the presentation today.
Okay, thank you so much. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Yeah, how are you going to drain those roofs? Where's the downspouts going to be?
I don't know exactly how how the builder is gonna, like, where the downspouts would be, but with the offset, the 2 foot kind of setbacks, I would guess it would be, kind of on the ends, and then where the 2 foot setback goes kind of along the side of that would be my guess.
Okay.
That's correct. That's the most likely place. And there's, some pretty shallow valleys that are in between to kind of catch square footage up above in between the express gables. And so a lot of this water is going to be shedding to right where those offsets are happening. So at the location where it's maybe a porch, it might shed onto the porch and then have a gable that have a downspout that is then maybe tight against the porch / neighboring side. So, and then on the back, it would just be a simple downspout or right at the setback.
Okay. And then what's the purpose of the small square window? It's very asymmetrical. It doesn't really line up with anything. What's that doing?
Or
I will talk for that. I
Yeah.
just did a little architectural embellishment, and I kept it small because, so originally in his design, he had a window in that location. So my design task was to not eliminate any of the windows that he already had for different rooms in the layout of the house or the different townhomes. So in this case, I just made it a smaller window and kept it above the gable so that there's still some light getting into that space. And I know that not all craftsmen are super symmetrical. Actually, that's kind of one of the features that I think is nice about them. And so that window, and on the side elevation, the kind of small window that is at the stair landing, I kind of thought those are things that are found in the neighborhood that are kind of special and different so that it doesn't look as cookie cutter.
Thank you.
I had a question about the decorative band and what material that would be used, or what you would use for that.
I believe we did on the other ones. It's just like a smooth finish hardy piece to kind of just show the separating between the first and second story.
Yeah, he already has a project that has been completed on Leonard down the road that has this express band. It's just instead of a lap side, it would be just a flat, like 12-inch, 10-inch, like flat hardy panel that breaks up the scale of the 2 floors.
I just wanted to say I appreciate the revisions. I think this looks nice, and thank you for taking time to work with the neighborhood.
Sure, thank you.
Yes, as a member of the neighborhood myself, I really appreciate your collaboration. I didn't attend the meetings, partially for bias reasons. I wanted to get just the application here, but I heard it went really well, and I really appreciate the applicant's help, neighbor and the architect Oren here as well. I had a question for staff. I assume city engineering would evaluate the amount of impervious surface after this.
So the middle housing standards supersede the impervious surface limits. That's one of the small amount of elements of the base zoning code. They do not have to adhere to the building coverage and impervious surface coverage. There is a parking reduction in the zoning code. So, and I will say engineering will go through and review the site plan. There may be some recommendations that are made. The code allows people to back into the alley in some instances, and so there may be some opportunity for the applicant to reduce the amount of impervious surface based on what engineering says, or if there's a landscaping buffer needed or anything like that. But they do not have that 40% limit.
Okay. When Commissioner Blackburn mentioned the downspouts, I thought of the amount of stormwater for this house. I would recommend not just doing a splash block. You're going to have a decent amount of stormwater on this property with the amount of impervious surface, roofs included. And another just comment on Commissioner Blackburn's idea about the window. As far as alignment, they may, like if we want to make this rhyme with something historic, that window, the smaller one, and the door below may have shared a king stud. If this were a historic building in a balloon framing scenario, just a thought, not necessarily a prescription or something like that. I think this is a good application, and I support it.
Did you have any questions on what the staff recommended? Were you okay?
No,
with
I
that?
mean, everything is, we're in agreement of, and I know it seemed like door, I think it was the front porch flooring and door just to send those in, and so we were happy to, we did that on the previous ones where I just sent the doors to Lindsay and made sure that they're approved before installing, and so we're fine with doing that again.
Okay. Are there any more commissioner questions, or do you want to take a vote?
I'll make a motion. And first of all, thank you for all your collaboration
Sure.
and persistence. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve based on staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been approved. It's been a motion and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Okay, we'll move to our second property, and it will be at 2100 Washington Avenue.
Okay, so this is a new primary structure fronting Washington Avenue. It's a one-story, single-family house. There's a basement level unit as well, an ADU. The house measures 42 feet 6 inches wide by 74 feet 2 inches deep, and the main massing is proposed to be set approximately 31 feet from the front property line. That puts the porch at 20 feet. And so there are some site plan comments that I'll go through in the findings that were related to the first draft. The applicant has submitted some revised plans in response to the staff recommendation already. So those are what we'll see on the screen, and those were emailed to you guys, but just to clarify that. The house has a front gable roof with dimensional asphalt shingles. It also includes fascia boards, the exposed rafter tails, and eave overhangs, and decorative brackets. The facade features a full-length 11-foot deep front porch recessed under that primary front gable roof line, and it's supported by 2 square brick piers. And so we can see the facade alignment here in the rear elevation, and then the interior side elevation, which has a secondary door and some carriage doors accessible from that ground level. And then the other side elevation here as well. So I'll run through these as I go through the findings. So the lot that will receive the new construction, you guys may recall this is a 100-foot wide by 140 feet deep vacant lot. It previously had the brick veneer. You can see the footprint in the KGIS right here. The brick veneer clad church. The church was demolished. The demolition was completed by December 2024. And so the house is a craftsman-style one-story house that's interpreting some of those architectural details, material elements from the demolished structure. The craftsman style is appropriate for the context. The proposed front setback reflects the rhythm of the existing setback pattern of the street at 20 feet 3 inches. It also reflects the previous placement of the church. So the placement is largely determined by the sort of depression that is there, which allowed for that church building to have a basement. And so we can see that those site conditions present here. You can actually see them on site if you drive by. That has driven somewhat of the placement of the house. So there are corner side setbacks that are similar to what the church had. This is a double lot. And it's actually 2 lots of record, but it is 1 large tax parcel. And there's a vacant lot next door. So the house is a little narrower than the church just due to the form. So the side setbacks are somewhat larger than the previous context. The applicant has already responded to the staff comments. If you'll see in the packet or posted online, there was a driveway that kind of extended a little bit closer towards the interior sideline, and the applicant has revised some of the proposed parking and access to sort of reduce that effect. And so overall, the design guidelines recommend that parking be unobtrusive to the patterns of the block and streetscape, so the commission should discuss these larger interior side setbacks and the parking placement. Again, this is a revised copy here. Overall, the scale, width, proportion, and massing of the new house is similar to houses on the block. It does include a raised brick foundation, a final height, which is included here in the drawings as well, the revised drawings. The full-length 11-foot deep front porch matches the context and meets the design guidelines, including the brick piers and wood railing. The porch flooring is an unstained concrete, so they're in the older design guidelines. It does discourage replacing wood flooring with concrete. It doesn't necessarily speak to them now. That's just something the commission may choose to discuss if concrete is appropriate for a new porch. The roof lines and materials meet the guidelines for roof forms. They're similarly complex to historic houses in the neighborhood. They have details that meet the guidelines and sort of work with that design further. And then in general, the siding, windows, and doors meet the design guidelines, and they reflect that neighborhood context. The initial recommendation included that these final specs be submitted to staff for approval, but they are included, their window specs here and door specs here in these revised drawings. So the applicant has really gone through the work to find those exact specifications. And so the staff recommendation is to approve 4C25HC, subject to the conditions that the final construction drawings be sent to staff for approval, final specs for the siding, window, masonry, and doors be sent to staff for approval, meeting all applicable requirements of the zoning code and engineering standards, and then just noting some of the potential discussion topics include those interior side setbacks and parking placement and the porch flooring.
Thank you, Lindsay. Is the applicant present and would you like to speak?
Do I need to push a button? I think it's good. It's good. Okay. Matt Foster, currently at 2525 Jefferson Avenue. I think Lindsay kind of captured everything. What the staff comments point out are kind of the issues that we've discussed, struggled with. So totally open to any kind of input you guys have on this design.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any neighborhood comments?
I do not have additional comment on this one.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Lindsay, will you put the site plan, not back up, the overall, not that one? The neighborhood, yeah. Is this where the old Friends Church used to be?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
I know where I am then.
Thank you for bringing this application to us. I'd like to disclose that I was involved in a previous estimate for the rehabilitation of the other structure that was rightfully demolished. I have no financial ties to this application. I like your design, but I would like to warn you that I think this site has poor fill and soil. I would build in a contingency in your budget, not just for engineering probes, but for deeper excavation. That depression, I don't think is a natural contour. I think that is fill. The previous structure had a lot of foundation issues, places where they were just throwing concrete.
Right.
It was terrifying. Yeah, I wouldn't even trust just a probe test in some of those upper or the front and back sites. I would dig down to your basement level for that front porch.
Okay.
Just to be sure, just as a personal recommendation.
That's great. Thank you.
One other thing, a lot of us are familiar with this site from the Friends Church. And does KUB have some type of an easement or sanitary sewer line that's running on the back of that property?
They actually had one that runs underneath the property. I believe from some emails that it's inactive, but we definitely want to address that before we start anything here.
Yeah.
If there are no more questions, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff conditions.
Seconded.
There's a motion, it's been properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So do we need to end the meeting before the other business? or go ahead?
You guys have to vote on this one too.
Okay. So today's meeting, we do have other business, and there's an updated Edgewood Park City Design Guideline. Lindsay's going to discuss the guideline with us.
So, you guys who have been on the commission since 2023, when we looked at these last, may recall that the updated design guidelines have now been going on for over 10 years. There was a grant from the Historic Preservation Fund. There was a pretty extensive process to update multiple neighborhoods' design guidelines, and then Edgewood Park City's guidelines were further refined. The Historic Zoning Commission has already reviewed and approved these pretty much in depth in January 2023. There was a lag in that was largely on staff's responsibility. We had some details and sections that we needed to gather, and then we had some minor kind of text revisions that we made, which I can talk you guys through. And then there was we had a case in the meantime come up where we discussed a metal roof. And so the neighborhood wanted to have some opportunity to kind of refine those as well. So we have done all of that. The other element here is that we have to get these to city council really quick. So if there's any lag, then it has to come back to the HCC. So this is the last time you'll see them. And so we will forward this recommendation to city council, and then council will review and approve these. And you'll kind of notice even in the last case, we've been referring to these pretty extensively. So it's just going to be great to have them formally adopted so that myself and Melinda don't have to type out both the old ones and the new ones. And so staff's recommending approval of these updated guidelines, and then we will send these recommendations right to council.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, you have any questions for staff?
Yeah, I just have a question for Commissioner Randazzo. Are you familiar with these? You're good with everything?
Yes, I think that there's some conflict in the neighborhood of what we may want 20 or 30 years from now, and we don't really know. And so I think these were written really well to where the neighborhood will still be able to give input in how they want guidelines interpreted. So we feel really good about it.
So when they have these guidelines, are they able to make amendments without changing them like we do on the federal level?
No. The short answer, no. You know, what you guys have seen a lot is that the commission sort of makes these de facto amendments in that you guys recognize, like, you know, in 1996, when the guidelines said no synthetic sidings, they were speaking specifically to vinyl and aluminum. But what we've sort of, as long as the neighborhood is on board and the commission is on board, you can kind of set that precedent.
Which is more like a different interpretation.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, the commission and the neighborhood are involved in the interpretation of the guidelines, and that's kind of a living, breathing document. But typically changing the format themselves does require a formal process.
Okay. So Commissioner Randazzo, are you saying that they have created the language so that you can make those different interpretations 20 or 30 years from now? Okay, good. All right, commissioners, want to take a vote?
I'll make a motion to approve based on staff recommendation.
Seconded.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I think that is the end of our meeting today. Would anyone like to make a motion to end the meeting? Do we usually do that? Oh, we don't. Okay. That ends our meeting for today's session. Thank you all for your attendance. Have a great day.